And we are live. Thank you, everyone, very much for joining us for this live broadcast. And everyone else watching this back is recording. We appreciate you as well.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Tonight, we're joined by Patrick. He's the brother of Bernard Bunny Ross, who disappeared in Ashland, Maine, May 12th, 1977. Patrick, welcome to Locating the Lost.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So this is a case that doesn't get a lot of exposure, so I'm glad that your brother Andrew had reached out to us and you're able to come on here and talk to us. So if you wouldn't mind, can you kind of tell us a little bit about your brother?
Oh, absolutely. I was only 12 years old when Bunny left. He was 18, so he was my big brother. I looked up to him fondly. He was, kind of brother that always looked out for me. We had a couple bullies in the neighborhood, and he made sure he took care of me in that way and made sure those older kids knew not to mess with me. But he was a kind individual. He wasn't mean, but he was just being a good big brother, I guess. But if you talk to his friends and those who knew him, they loved him. He was a kind man, gentle soul. Unfortunately, it appeared mental illness came upon him, and it affected his life at that time when he disappeared.
Now, as a 12-year-old, did you realize that he was suffering in that way at all?
No, I don't really recall it that much. And to be quite honest, I didn't notice it. My parents, of course, we talk a lot about it now. And, they've told me a lot about it, and I kind of understand it now. But he just seemed pretty normal to me at the time.
If you don't mind, can you tell us who the group is here? It looks like that's probably him in the center there.
Yeah,
if you don't mind,
he's in the red shirt there. My mom, my dad, all the children, Bunny in the red shirt, and my older sister Cindy, my older sister Christy, my little sister Lib, my little brother Andy, who's the one that got in touch with you, and my grandmother Ross there, my dad's mom.
Nice. All right,
and
so
of course my mom and dad.
So with let me ask you this: where did the nickname Bunny come from?
It's a good question. My dad's nickname is Bun. Bernard, both Bernard Senior, Bernard Junior. And you think I would have looked that up, but I didn't. But it may have been a spin-off of my dad's nickname of Bun. He was affectionately known as Bun around town. So no, I don't know the answer. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, I had these scenarios in my head that he had rabbits or something and that he took care of, but that makes sense what you're saying now. So how was he in school? Did he play sports? How was his grades?
He played basketball. He's pretty tall, which was handy when in basketball. My dad was a teacher at that school, and I can tell you from my experience, it's tough with your dad being in the same school as a teacher. Great teacher, great father, don't get me wrong, but it is a little tougher when you have a dad as your one of your school teachers. So I think that was a little tough on Bunny. But yes, his grades weren't the greatest. He did play sports, play basketball. But I think he did struggle a little bit in school. Not because he wasn't bright. I think it just things were going on in his life, and I don't think school was his biggest priority, to be quite honest.
I had shared a post about your brother the other day, and I got to tell you, I had a lot of people comment about your father. What a good man he is, and what a great teacher he was and mentor to many. So, in that sake, it sounds like you had a pretty good childhood.
Yes, I did. And, my dad, growing up at the town of, 4,500 people, I believe is about what we had in Fort Kent. He was a school teacher. Everyone knew him. He taught nights at the local colleges. He coached track, girls basketball, field hockey, several sports. He was always busy. We painted houses in the summer. With 6 kids, he had to put food on the table. So he worked hard in the summer. So yeah, the town, everyone in the town knew my dad.
So when talking about your brother, did you call him Bunny as well?
Oh yeah, everyone referred to Bunny. I can't ever recall calling him Bernard.
Okay, so I'll call him Bunny the rest of this
Sure.
podcast then. So did Bunny have like aspirations? Was he going to go to college or anything? Did he set up what he wanted to do after
I
school?
never really heard him talk much about that. He about his dreams. One of his dreams was, was mentioned hitchhiking to California. I don't know. Back in those days, you could do stuff like that a little safer. Of course, nowadays it's very dangerous. But not really. And I guess when I was 12, I maybe didn't take in some of the things he was saying like that. I just, kind of looked up to him as a big brother and someone who looked out for me. But I don't remember really him telling me, his aspirations in life, to be quite honest.
Okay. So what do you know about, maybe the days leading up to his disappearance and what happened the day of his disappearance?
Yeah, on the day of his disappearance, it was May 12th of 1977, which was a Thursday. It was a school day, and he had gotten up early. And, my dad being a school teacher in school, was in his room getting ready. My mom had gotten up. My little sister, Libby, was in the kitchen eating. And he had a short discussion with my mom about not wanting to go to school. And this was during the time where he was, we believe, suffering from some mental illness. And after telling my mom he did not feel like going to school that day, he wasn't feeling well, she told me he could stay home. So at that point, my mom went back into her bedroom to tidy up, and my dad was still getting ready. And that was when he entered the kitchen when my little sister Libby was sitting there. And he made a comment about he was going to take the family car. Well, we only had one family car. It was a big old Gran Torino station wagon. I can't never forget it. And that was the only family car. So it was a little, probably odd to my little sister, but being only 8 years old at the time, I can understand why she, she didn't put two and two together on that. He didn't have a driver's license at the time. She may not even have known that either. But he did take the car, and he drove an hour south to Presque Isle, Maine, where my aunt, uncle, and his cousin David lived. Unfortunately, at the time he arrived on Mechanic Street in Presque Isle, where they lived, they weren't home at the time. However, there was a van in the driveway that a maintenance man had parked there. He was working on the windows and painting at the house, I believe. And unfortunately, he left the keys in it. When my brother realized that my aunt and uncle and especially David, who he was very close to his cousin, wasn't there, I think that when he decided to flee. He left the family vehicle, I think, on purpose. I think he didn't want us to be without that. And yes, unfortunately, he did take the worker's van. And that van was later found on the Realty Road that I described to you in the Ashland-Portage line. It wasn't damaged. The keys were still in it. And later, after the maintenance man was told about my brother's state of mind at the time, he decided it was not going to be worthwhile to press charges, and he let that go.
And that's the first time I heard it was somebody else's van. I was always under the impression it was your aunt's, because that's the way it's reported. That he took your aunt's vehicle.
Right. No, that's it was a maintenance man's van, and even the state police website, often says he stole a vehicle. And yes, he took a vehicle without permission, but in the state of mind and whatnot, he wasn't out to steal the van for good. He was just trying to get out of the situation, I believe, at the time. And
do you know?
Said, did not press charges.
Do you know what situation he was trying to get out of? Had there been an argument with your parents at all that morning?
I think just the mental illness he was suffering from, and that he wasn't, I think, taking some of the medications he was prescribed at the time. I think he was reaching out to my cousin to, try and talk to him about his personal situation. And when he realized they weren't home, I think that was his, decision point of, what do I do? I've got the family car. I need to do something, and that's when he, I think, decided to take the van.
Oh, Stacy, sorry. This is probably an older poster. She's saying, is his birthday wrong, or is his age a typo? I was saying he was my husband's age, and he might have played sports against him in school.
July 19 is his birthday.
1958,
and
right?
I want to say it's 58, yes. 1958.
On this missing poster, I think came out like 10 years ago. It says age now 57, so I apologize.
Okay, my bad. But July 19th for sure.
I'll just move on to the next picture.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right, so you're not sure if there was any sort of argument or it was just a state of mind, right? He decided he took the
just to stay in
vehicle.
line. The maintenance man, as a matter of fact, what I was told by my parents is the maintenance man did not even confront him because he didn't know until he went out to get something out of the van and it was gone. And my parents' cars was left there, which kind of puzzled him. And only later, after my uncle Pat returned home, did he call my parents and tell them that their vehicle was in his driveway and that the maintenance van was gone. And that's when my parents first realized that, he wasn't in Fort Kent anymore and that, he had kind of taken off.
Yeah. What was their reaction to that? I mean, to know that their vehicles have been taken by...
like I think nowadays, they probably thought that it was a temporary thing, that he'd come home, none of us could ever dream that, it would have carried on this long 50 years later. But I'm sure they were shocked, but like most, we thought he would come home.
So does the family know of any significance to that location where the van was found? Had he, was that a place you guys went fishing or hunting or something? Or
No, my brother loved the woods, and you can probably see from the picture displayed, he loved the outdoors. He loved to hike through the hills in Fort Kent. We had a lot of woods near our house, and I think he fled to the woods. As you know, Aroostook County, northern Maine, is a lot of woods up there.
Yeah.
And I think that was his element. He was comfortable there, and I think that was where he wanted to be.
How soon after the van, how long did it take them to find the van, I guess? So I'm trying to ask.
I think it was later that day, is what I recall from my dad telling me, that they located the van and the keys still in it and it being undamaged. And once, like I said before, once they told the maintenance man the whole story, he did not want to press charges with the police, so that was dropped.
Did they say, actually, Jess is going to ask the same question. Just saying, did the van break down or did it run out of gas? Is that why it was in that location?
No, I had heard a report that he actually got stuck at that location because I believe the reality road is mostly a dirt road, or it was back in 1977. And that may have, made him decide that's where he was going to leave it. But I'm not positive on that, but that's what I think my dad told me, is it got stuck.
Okay. Now, all the reports say that he was last seen entering the woods. Who would have seen him entering the woods?
Well, when he went on the reality road, there was what we call a skidder road. For those that don't know, most people from Maine know what a skidder is. It's, a machine used to haul logs out of the woods. He entered a skidder road, which would be a rough road. And he walked down that road, and there was cigarettes found at the end of that road that matched the type that he smoked. And there was also a cabin on that road, on that skidder road. What we believe happened is Bunny was he was wet somehow. His clothes were needing changing. He was hungry. We believe he did enter a cabin. And we found out later from 3 men that lived at the cabin that were working on those skidder roads. They were loggers. That he had taken a pair of pants and a shirt and a pair of boots, and he had taken some food. And he left his original clothes there. And before the van was even found, one of the men in the trailer or logging cabin had even taken his clothes and folded them and put them back in the van. It's kind of an odd connection to me. I'm not sure how they knew he had that van, but that is what my dad has told me about his clothes.
That's
bizarre.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yes, it is. Folded neatly back in the van. So that's where some of the missing pieces of the puzzle are, as far as him on the reality road and that skidder road and running into these 3 individuals. We believe that they made contact and not just found out later. We can't really confirm that. But yeah.
So I'm just trying to piece this together, because this is the first time I've heard this. It's nowhere online, the story about the camp and the clothes being found in the camp.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did he break into the camp or is it unlocked? Did they say? Was there any damage?
I don't think my dad even knows that. We just know he entered the camp, obviously without permission. He was probably hungry. He's been on the run a little bit, and he did leave food laying on the table, and it was obvious when those men came back that someone had been in there. Whether they confronted him or not and found him in there, I don't believe so. But that's the part that, like I said, is to me is very suspicious as to what may have transpired during that time. So
do you know what clothes were taken? Because the description talks about what he was wearing.
He did take later reports from the men that supposedly talked to police. He did take a certain individual's clothes. Of the three men, he did take as a particular individual's clothes that evidently must have fit him, and that's what he had taken and then left his behind that were probably wet or soiled or whatnot. And those are the clothes that we believe that individual folded up and put back in the van, along with a pair of sneakers.
So what is on his missing person report? Is it the clothes that he was last seen wearing, or is it the clothes that were taken?
Those clothes, the green vest and the chamois shirt and the corduroy pants was one of his favorite things. And that's what I was told my dad he was wearing, and that's what was in the van. Those same set of clothes, or another one very similar to that.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't
update that with what he was allegedly wearing from the other guy.
That is
unless
surprising.
they decided they couldn't prove it was him that somebody else wearing the same clothes in the same proximity that stole those other clothes.
They can't prove that he was the one that. Well, no, it was his clothes, right? So I mean, that's
right.
That's
it's
all
proved
weird.
He was in that cabin, but no, there was never any photos or confirmed sightings of him and the type of clothes that he did have on. Although the other individual did say they were his clothes that he had taken. But I don't know. I was told they were a pair of jeans, is what I'm hearing, but I don't know the shirt type. And a pair of boots is what my dad told me, but I don't know how more details on those clothes except for that.
And Chris is saying usually camps are left open for lost people in the woods up here. Probably not really
that's
nice camps, but little hunting camps.
Oh, it's a place to stay warm.
That's what it was.
Yes,
roof and stay warm.
Billy's asking, are the men from the camp? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I got a quick question. Are the men from the camp still alive? Billy's asking.
The man that I'm most interested is that I believe would have some answers. Yes, I know he's alive, but I have not confirmed on the other two men.
All right, and I didn't mean to interrupt, so go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Jess is saying they had time to do that all in the same day. Woods workers usually come out on Thursdays.
Well, it was also back in 77. Not sure if their schedule was the same back then, right? But
right.
So they did not say they saw him. What's that?
A lot of times the loggers, if they're complete a certain area, they may have gone back to the cabin to rest or eat. It's hard to say,
right.
I really don't know in that regard.
And I have another question from Sonny saying, were those three men the last to see him? They didn't admit to seeing him at all, right?
No, they were not the last to see him. There's a report of a trucker who claimed that he picked my brother up and took him as far as he was going towards town and then dropped him off. And the odd thing about it was the gentleman even said my brother took his helmet and as a joke and had it on his head, and he started walking back towards the direction the gentleman had picked him up from, which is a little odd. And he got out and he said, "Hey, I need my helmet to work," and my brother gave it back to him. They were it appeared a lighthearted moment at the time. But that man reported, and they also reported sighting of him eating in a restaurant in Ashland. Although that's not confirmed, but there's a report he may have eaten. So that leads us to have some hope that he actually did come out of the woods after a potential confrontation with those three men at the logging camp. But once again, we're not positive it was him.
Did they use tracking dogs at all around the van to see which direction he went?
There were some tracking dogs that came into the scene, but not at that time. It was way later on, and as we get into the story a little more, I can tell you more about that. But no, not at the time of his disappearance. They did not.
So was that the sort of last like potential sighting of him was with him? So first it would have been him getting in the truck, getting a ride, and then him eating at a restaurant in Ashland. Is that like sort of the end of the official sort of story or evidence about where he could have been?
Yes, as far as everything my dad has told me, yes, is the potential sighting in the restaurant is the last known potential sighting of Bunny.
Okay. So I know I've been asking a lot of questions and everything.
No
so I'll let you get back on track, Patrick. So at this point, his van's in the woods. We're not sure where he is. If you want to go ahead and continue.
Yeah, so the van's in the wood, and as we stated, the potential confrontation with the logging folks, and then it went cold after that. And so my dad, being a school teacher in the local town, he had to take off obviously from school and start searching along with the state police. His good friend Dean Fogg also volunteered and went out and searched for days and days on end. My dad had also taught a Maine game warden previously in high school. He expressed interest in doing an aerial search, so a helicopter search was conducted with that gentleman from the warden service, along with my dad flying the chopper. They went all over that area, and nothing was found.
Did he have anything on, like a watch or a knife or something like that? It's not included with
It's possible. I don't know of that. No, but that's possible. I don't know for sure on that.
Or a wallet or ID.
I believe he had a wallet and ID on him, as we'll get into later in the story. I do believe he had a wallet and ID on him.
Okay, go ahead, continue. I feel like I keep interrupting you.
No. It's I appreciate all you're doing. No, so yeah, that is as you mentioned, that is probably the last reported sighting potentially is in that restaurant where they think he may have eaten a lunch when he was hungry, and then after that things went cold.
So can you give us a timeline again real quick? So it was probably around 7:38 in the morning when he took the station wagon?
I think it was a little earlier than that. I want to say about 6 a.m. Because my dad was getting ready for school. My mom had gotten up, and then when he said he was, not wanting to go to school, she agreed to let him stay. And then, like I said, after my mom went back in her bedroom, and he drifted off into the kitchen, that's when my little sister Libby was in there eating, and that was when I guess he decided he had the keys in his hand. He was going to flee and leave in the station wagon. So my dad usually walked to school. It was only about a half mile away. He'd like to leave the family car for my mom. So, yeah.
Rose has this comment, says, I think he left because close friends had confronted him the day before about how odd Bunny's behavior had been at school and with his friends. Have you heard that before?
I didn't know about him confronting him, but yes, I knew about the odd behavior. My mom relayed that to me, that he was being treated, for mental illness. He had spent 10 days in a clinic in the Fort Fairfield Mental Health Clinic to be treated, and he was placed on heavy medication called Thorazine. At the time, he did not like taking the stuff. I think it made him in a zombie-like state. And I know some of the kids at school, and I think my dad mentioned that they noticed that it just drug him way down, and he just didn't seem to have any energy in life to him. So yeah, that may have been a strong possibility, and Rose would probably know better than me.
So what the last sighting was potentially at the restaurant. Do you believe that was him? Does your family believe that that's a legitimate
I
sighting.
certainly hope so, because it means that he made it out of the woods, after that potential confrontation. So I would certainly hope it was him. But we just don't know for sure. We don't have positive confirmation on that, unfortunately.
So I'm not sure if you're ready to talk about the letter that came in. You want to do that now, or do you want to, like, I know you had kind of structured it as far as keeping yourself on a timeline.
No, sure. So yeah, as we said, I said the case went cold, and many years went by despite my parents' constant efforts with the Maine State Police and contacting them repeatedly and begging them to continue searching, which they did. Probably not as much as we would have liked, obviously. But the case went cold. So for many years, we didn't know what happened, and eventually, as I stated. When I was 17, we moved away from Fort Kent and down to southern Maine. Um, my parents, we lived in Standish for a while. I graduated from Bonnie Eagle High School, and eventually we built a house on the Gorham Road. That was right before I went in the Air Force. And then eventually, my parents sold that house in Gorham and moved into the city, into Portland, right on the water there. And that was the residence that it was on Morning Street in Portland. That was where they received a letter stating from a lady that she knew about my brother's disappearance. She knew what happened to him, and that he was dead, and she knew the circumstances behind it. She claimed that Bunny had come along to a family gathering, and decided to join in, I guess, a little party they were having, and that this person claimed that he was hitting on one of the girls there, and one of the gentlemen didn't like it. It was either her boyfriend or husband, and that reportedly he lured Bunny away from the group, and that he killed him, and that he got rid of his body. And this woman went into great detail about how he killed him, and where he had put his body. So the letter even went so far as to say she had put in flags out in the wood. Now, she also sent a copy of this letter to the Maine State Police. So obviously, based on that information, the police investigated it. They even went so far as, you had mentioned cadaver dogs earlier. They went so far as to go to the location that she claimed his body was buried at, and to bring the cadaver dogs out there to see if they could locate anything. After exhaustive search, several officers out there, they went and interviewed the woman who sent the letter. They knew who it was, and her husband was there as well. And it was determined after the interview was over, and by a lot of her responses, that it was a complete hoax. Her husband confirmed. Yeah, her husband confirmed that she also had suffered from mental illness, and that she had pulled one of these type hoaxes before. So the state police totally disregarded her letter, that it was a total hoax, basically. So,
and that's
as
so
you can
different.
imagine. Excuse me. Go ahead.
That's so different than the way it's reported. It's reported as an anonymous letter, and they're keeping it close to the vest of what the contents of the letter were.
No, they knew who had sent it. They figured it out. And as my brother said, Andy, a lot of the details of this case and on the Maine State Police website aren't very accurate in our opinion. I wish a lot of them would get corrected based on our feedback and what we found out. It seems like they could do some updating on some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's the least they can do.
Right.
So, and that you guys got that letter in 2016, right? So like 40 years after.
Yeah. Yes, 2016. Yeah, about 39 years. Yeah. It obviously it was devastating. Obviously, we didn't want to him to be dead, but it would have been some type of closure. It was devastating to know that we were back to square one. However, it did give us hope that potentially he was still alive somewhere.
Right. Was there any part of her story that was believable? Like that made any sense? Did she have a connection to you guys? Was anyone familiar with her before this?
No, she didn't have a connection, but initially it appeared that it was believable. And,
Yeah.
it just started to unravel after the cops interviewed her, and the story fell apart. And the location she mentioned, there was nothing there. And, it all just started unraveling. And when the husband, basically told the cops that she was having mental issues and that she had injected herself in a situation like this before, that was when they realized that there was no truth to it at all.
Yeah, that must have been hard to deal with.
It was very, very difficult for our family. It was, really the first news that gave us any hope that we'd finally, get some closure in this case.
Now, since or even I guess before that or since then, have you guys gotten any information from anyone else about where he potentially was?
No, we've gotten no new information. I've learned a little in the last few weeks about it, and then the last few days, my brother as well, about one of the individuals I mentioned at the logging camp that I didn't know. As I'd mentioned earlier, I was gone for a long time in the Air Force, and so some of the details I never picked up on, and maybe didn't ask enough questions of my parents. But I found out some information about one of those individuals that has me a little concerned about his involvement.
Is that something that you're willing to share, or
Yeah, I'll
don't want to
share
say
it.
any
I'd
names.
rather not. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I know you don't want to mention any names, but can you go into like
Oh yeah,
what
I
his
can go
background
into
looks like?
detail about one of the individuals.
Yeah.
Who, ironically, according to my dad, was originally from Fort Kent, but had relocated down there to work in the woods. Had tried to pass a bad check months later after my brother's disappearance using my brother's name. Yeah. This individual was interviewed by the state police, according to my dad, 3 times following that. And he was even offered a polygraph test about this whole situation, which he refused. And this is one of the individuals. This is the one individual that I know is still alive. He's located out of state now. And yes, I do know his name, but I just feel like for legal purposes at this
Nope,
point, I don't want to
you're
disclose it.
absolutely fine. Don't worry about it.
Somebody
We
did
don't have to
actually
get into
mention
that.
it in the chat, so I had to delete that comment. I apologize.
No, I got you.
So maybe, have you talked to Rose Parody before?
Oh, yeah, I've talked to Rose several times. She was
Okay.
a very close friend of my brother's, sweet lady, and she's told me a lot about my brother and the circumstances that I didn't necessarily know.
Yeah, she says he was definitely not in his right mind when I saw him the night before he left.
Right.
And did anyone, or well, I'll just ask the question that she's asking. Paul's asking, did the authorities ever find that Bunny's social security number was being used to obtain a job? I remember hearing that many years ago.
The report I got from my parents was no, his number is never in use. However, Rose, her and I were chatting not long ago. I think it was within the last day, and she thought she had heard it had. So I am going to try and dig into that a little more, and find out which side of that is correct. I'm not
That makes
sure
me wonder
at this
if that story of the Social Security might have got conflated with the bad check. You know what I mean?
It's possible. It's possible, but we're definitely worth something digging into. And
Right.
I'm
Still
gonna look
worth
into
looking
further.
into for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rose is asking, what was the reasoning for him using Bunny's name on the check? Did he ever say? Was it just because he knew the guy was missing, so he thought he could get away with it, or?
I wish I knew that, and I wish I could tell Rose. We don't know, and that's what to me is very suspicious. Is months after he's gone, you are going to try and pass a check using my brother's name, almost as if you're discounting him being around anymore, and that you
Well,
wouldn't get in trouble for it. That's
Right.
kind of my feeling on that issue.
Well, some of that would make me think too, like, someone doing that would be like either A, yeah, they thought that they could get away with it because they knew the person was missing, or B, they're trying to make it seem like the person is still alive somewhere. So if they see the check, they're like, oh, look, he's not potentially harmed or missing as much,
That's a good point.
How old would your brother be now? Is it 58? I'm sorry, 68.
Yes, I am 61. Yes, I believe 68. 67 or 68 is terrible. I'm bad with. I know his birthday's obviously July 19th, but I'm bad with the years. My other brothers and
Yeah, you're
sisters
fine.
probably
I just want to
would
bring that up again
understand as
because
well.
it's this is from the Maine State Police website. So this was actually made like 10 years ago. So he'd be 67, 68 now. Missing since May 12th, 1977, Ashland, Maine. Date of birth, July 19th, 1958.
Okay, 58. All right. Yep.
And then blonde hair, blue eyes, 6'1", 160 pounds. So he was not very thick, was he? He's a teenage kid, I
he's
guess.
tall and lanky, kind of like I was growing up.
Yeah.
Handsome
He was a
fellow,
high
though.
school basketball player, so makes sense. Let's see. So whose check was it? He signed Bunny's name. Was it Bunny's checkbook, or is it just a
I
starter
don't
check?
know whose
I'm guessing
check
it was
it
probably a starter
was.
check.
I need to look into that a little more and ask some more questions on that. All I know is he attempted to use my brother's identity to cash that check. So I don't know if it was one of those blank type checks you get from banks sometimes where your name and address are there. I'm not positive on that yet.
And Dan Dumont said he was my age, 68.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, so I know, like I said earlier, you have a timeline. You kind of structured this a little bit, just keep yourself on track. Is there anything that we've missed at this point, or are you good to continue?
No, we've discussed the search, the letter, the final hours kind of what happened at the house. I just want to state, obviously, the ones most affected by Bunny's disappearance are, my parents. My dad just turned 90 recently. My mom's 89. And as you can imagine, I'm very tough on them.
I honestly can't imagine. I mean, I've been fortunate enough not to be in this type of situation. For whatever reason, I kind of got into this like true crime and trying to help families based off from the Ayla Reynolds case from Waterville's what made me start this. I know Jeff has some relatives that actually this happened to, where someone had gone missing, right, Jeff?
Yeah, it was not by blood, it was by marriage, but yeah, it was something I heard growing up a few times.
So I can't imagine what you guys are going through.
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
what
and
was
my
that?
parents, I said it's honorable of what you guys are doing for folks.
Oh, well, yeah, no, not a problem at all. Thank you.
No, my parents have also had, health issues lately. So, obviously, at their age, it concerns us that, they may never know what happened to their son. So I hope this is, an opportunity to maybe shed some light on it and maybe reach out the right person that might be able to come forward with some information.
Right. It just takes one person, the right person to see something like this, or someone that saw it, mention it in front of someone. And, someone who has even a partial answer might be able to say the right thing to the right person. And, maybe the answers can come out, find out what really happened to Bunny.
Yeah. And I'd like to see them press the individual I mentioned, that passed the bad check and from the woods. I'd really like to see more of a involvement in the Maine State Police and interviewing this gentleman again and trying to get him to come up with some information, because I believe he knows something. I really do. I'm convinced of it.
Have they done any follow-up searching in that area around the camp or where the van was found, like in the last 10 years?
Not that I know of, no. And I'm sure that area's changed pretty significantly, but no, I don't think so. I don't know of that, no.
What about cadaver dogs? I know you guys don't want to think of that, but have they?
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second. What was that question?
What about cadaver dogs? Have they had them come up through?
Not that I know of. No, I don't think they've gone back through there. Something that could be brought up to Maine State Police again, I guess.
So one thing I've mentioned on other stories that we cover, there's no Facebook page, I don't believe, for Bernard Bunny Ross. You guys might want to make like a Facebook group to try to collect information, get everyone in town to join and share tips, and maybe someone might help somebody else jog a memory or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's something that the family and I can talk about, definitely.
And if you guys do get something like that made up, then just let us know, because we will obviously be more than willing to share that out. You know, we're up to like 19,000 people that follow us now. Could get a lot more attention, hopefully, to something like that. We do have a couple comments here I want to mention. Rose Parody says, "My heart goes out to the entire Ross family. They've been through a lot." And also, Paul Nadu says, "Bunny was loved by many, and we think of him and miss him a great deal. Our hearts go out to all the family and his friends."
We appreciate that. Both great folks there.
So some of these, like this picture on the left, is kind of what he was wearing the day he left your house. The picture on the right is an artist rendition of him a little bit older, and then this is kind of what they think he might look like at, I believe, 58 years. So about 10 years ago, he would look like this.
I think the first one is a little more accurate. The second one, I don't see Bunny in that picture, but it's possible. But yeah, I believe that first one is probably more accurate. But you know, some of those folks are a lot smarter at that than I am.
Yeah, it's almost like his face is too thin or something here.
Yeah. I just don't see the similarity there, but never know.
Still got all of his hair though. I lost mine at 23.
We got another comment here from Shelley Christine saying, "I hope you get the answers. Prayers to you and your family for closure and peace."
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Before we wrap up, is there anything you want to say or something we might have missed?
No, just you know, some of my brothers and sisters shared some of their fond memories. You know, I just recap real quick with that. You know, my brother Andy told me a story about a baseball game where he made the final out of the game with a bunch of older kids, and Bunny hoisted him on his shoulders and carried him around the field, which was pretty cool for a young kid. My sister Lib, who was, you know, only 8 years old at the time, going on 9, she always remembers he loved to hoist her on his shoulders because she was so short, according to him, and she could see better up there. So she always loved the fact that he did that and, you know, showed that love towards her. You know, my sister Cindy had moved to Bar Harbor because she's the oldest in the family. She had already graduated high school. She fondly remembers most of the time she used to spend with him in Old Orchard Beach when we were younger. We used to go down there a lot and meet some of our relatives from New York, and we spent a lot of time at Old Orchard Beach. And she really fondly remembers those times. And my sister Christy, also one of my older sisters, you know, has fond memories of Bunny always jamming to music. Sister Golden Hair by America was one of his favorites. Fame by David Bowie, and also Peter Frampton Comes Alive, which probably explains a lot of why I love music so much today. I remember hearing, you know, some of that as well. And
all great music.
Jeff
doesn't know what we're talking about here, but that's all great music.
Listen, yeah, I'm a couple of decades behind on that.
Yeah, all great stuff. You know, you gotta listen to it.
Did he was he any sort of musician at all? Did he play any instruments?
No, but he had his bedroom was an old converted room up in the attic, and we just hear it. You know, he'd be jamming there, and I just remember in particular that Bowie song "Fame." It came out in '75, and he was listening to it all the way up to his disappearance, I think. He loved it. That was one of many. He liked Grand Funk Railroad, CCR, other bands like that.
I guarantee you could shred on the air guitar too.
Probably.
thank you so much for sharing that with us, Patrick. I know that was kind of tough for you to do.
No problem. I hope I didn't miss anyone in the family there. Of course, mom and dad have also many fond memories as well.
Yeah, like people see these things on the internet, myself included. You read I think it's like paragraph and a half the state police put out about this, and they don't understand who the person is. And so it's awesome that you're able to share some of that with us so we get to understand who he was or is.
Yeah, it's so true. As my brother stated, a lot of the information on the site is outdated, and it leads you to believe, he was a car thief and he was this and that, and he was just desperate. He was on the run, suffering from mental illness at the time, and that's just not who he was.
Billy Johnston's asking, does the family believe there was an actual crime committed?
I think we all might have different beliefs on that. I think it's possible. Obviously, the passing the bad check and the fact that one of the individuals doesn't want to take a polygraph, and he's been interviewed 3 times by state police, which leads me to believe maybe they saw potential for his involvement. So it's possible, but no, I don't think any of us are positive of that. We're all very hopeful, obviously, that he's alive and that we'll see him again one day. But I don't want to speak for the other family members, but I think there's nothing definitive really as to what's happened.
Yeah, you guys just want some sort of an answer, right? Something.
Yes, absolutely. Some closure. Obviously, finding him alive would be the best. But if he's passed, and that's what we have to deal with. That's what we'll have to deal with. Just not knowing is the hardest part. I've talked to several folks that have had someone die, and yeah, that's hard. But you at least have closure, and you know where they are. With Bunny, 50 years later, we still don't know.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
So the state of Maine has like 28 unidentified bodies right now.
Right.
And last year, there was a group trying to get a bill passed that would basically, it's like $150,000, I think is what they're asking for, just to have
out of our budget, out of the Maine
DNA
state
testing
budget.
on these. Yeah, have DNA testing on these individuals to find out who they are, who they belong to, the families that are out there look for them. It would be amazing if not only Maine but every state would do that. Just if you got unidentified bodies,
that's nothing.
That's what I said during the podcast. It's like it's someone filling a pothole down Main Street almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
well, that's the thing is it passed the initial round of voting, right, where they would consider it for where they allow it to go into the budgeting or something, but then when they actually did the budgeting, it didn't make the cut.
Yeah, that wasn't important enough to.
Yeah,
make
it's ridiculous. But
something for me to look into.
Oh yeah. There's always still hope for stuff like that, and who knows is in those that list of remains that were found, but it's worth trying.
Yeah, we actually I can send you the link. I'll send you the link for the podcast. That we had the senator that was trying to get that pushed on the podcast, so I'll send that to you so you can watch it.
I appreciate that.
That is going to make a world of difference to families with missing people.
Oh, absolutely. Even if they saw $150,000, that's nothing. In today's world.
the amount of sadness that people are experiencing, and just because they don't have the answers, it wouldn't necessarily make them happy, but it would, like you said, bring closure, and that's a lot more than what families have right now.
Absolutely.
Donna says, I love how Patrick had those things to say about his brother. Makes Bunny seem more real. I hope he and his parents get some closure on what happened to him soon.
Thank you, Donna. She's awesome.
Yeah, the other part of that bill was that if there wasn't unidentified remains, they sit there for 6 months, and then they were forced to have those tested too once the first 28 got tested. So,
right. Well, I'd be interested to know if any of those were found in the Ashland area, any of those remains.
Yeah, I can help you with that too. I assume that they would have tested it or looked to see if it matched his stature.
Right.
But those 28 people, they might not even be from Maine, right? They could be from out of state. So same thing with maybe New
yeah.
Hampshire has unidentified bodies from people from Maine. So I think
Right.
as a country, we need to do better.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Which I'll mention this too. You were in the Navy, so thank you for your service. I'm not bashing the country.
Yeah, Air Force, but that's all right. All the services do good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go, Patrick?
No, just once again, on behalf of the Ross family, I want to thank you guys for allowing us to do this and getting the word out. And like I said, you never know. Just never know. This could be.
I can't believe I didn't post it earlier.
Reaches someone.
So if you do have tips, please contact the Maine State Police at 207-532-5466. And like I said earlier, I really think that if you guys created a Facebook group and got others from the community involved, you guys might have a way to generate some tips that way too.
Yeah, we appreciate that information, that tip.
All right, Patrick, have a good night, and thank you for joining us and sharing your brother's story.
You too. Thanks again. I really appreciate it, and thanks to all those who provide some nice comments about my brother and our family. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight, and again to you, Patrick. So we'll catch you guys all later. You guys have a great rest of your night.
Take care. Thanks again.
Search for 5-year-old Taylor Williams led investigators to Alabama this week.
So we have some breaking news from Florida. An arrest has been made in connection.
After years of agony, a glimmer of hope for the family.
Investigators spent hours searching through this house off Pennsylvania Avenue.
What could be a major development in the search for missing Alabama teenager.
Tonight, a stunning twist in the search for Taylor.
Somebody out there knows something.
They want to lay him to rest their way, not by somebody else's way.